Hello everyone, happy Thursday. I'm so glad I was finally able to connect to the internet. It kept spinning and spinning, telling me that it was trying to go live, so I'm so glad you were here with me live or catching the replay. As you tune in, I would love for you to say hi and let me know where you're joining from today. Last week, I attended Stacy Tuschel's She's Building Her Empire Live in Milwaukee, and this week I am coming live to you every day to share my takeaways from all of the guest speakers. Now today we're talking about the 5-step sales framework presented by Jen Casey. You can find her online at Hey Jen Casey. If we haven't already met yet, my name is Young Pratt. I'm a mom of 2, and I'm also the chief dreamer and podcaster right here at Our Young Creators. Here at OYC, we are committed to equipping kids with real-world skills so that they can learn to serve others and fund their own beautiful adventures in the process. And I welcome you to day number 4 of the takeaways from last week's event. If you've joined me live before, you may notice that the setup here is a little bit different, and I wanted to try out this new Facebook Creator app. Do you use the app? If so, I would love to know your feedback down below. It's interesting to have the phone in the portrait mode versus the landscape mode. So using this app kind of goes against everything I've ever learned about doing video online because we don't want those crazy black bars. So I'm curious to see how this is going to look once it publishes and I watch the replay. Okay, let us dive in. So this was the 5-step sales framework that I have notes about from Jen Casey's presentation. And the first step, number 1, before you go into a sales conversation, you want to pre-qualify them. And she shares that she uses some sort of form to help pre-qualify them, asking them questions before she even hops on the phone with them. She said to give them a task, and you want to pre-qualify to make sure the person you're going to be chatting with is going to be a good fit. And in this pre-question or this pre-sales call interview, you want to make sure that your questionnaire gets them to sell themselves. Step number 2. Open and prime for success. So this happens at the beginning of a sales call. And she said the first thing that's really crucial that we do is to establish rapport. Now, Jen is an expert in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. So she gave us a lot of tips on how to use that to build rapport faster. And she said one of the easiest things to do is to mirror back what they're doing. So if they are talking a little more slowly than you want to then be able to match that, and you want them to mirror it back so that you can increase the cadence perhaps as you go in the conversation. She said you have to set the pace, you want to pace it, and you want to establish the lead. And rapport, she said, is the process of responsiveness. Super interesting. And the next part about building rapport, she said, was to identify their state. We want to find out the frame of mind they're in as they're hopping on a sales call. Has their day been disastrous so far? If so, and you ask the question, how was your day versus how are you? you may be able to reschedule your connection for a different day when it might be better and they're having a better day. And in this very beginning of the conversation, we want to be able to set the expectations and the outcome by saying something to the effect of, the purpose of today's call is whatever you're talking about. The next portion of the sales call, step number 3, is the interview. And she said we always want to make sure we're reframing to the positive. And the biggest takeaway from this section is don't start coaching on this sales call. If somebody asks a question and they want a response, we need to reframe that so we're either asking them a question back or saying, you know, that's a really great question, and I go into more detail in this program or this training, and if I share with you a little bit, it might be more confusing for you, so we want to be able to redirect the conversation so that we are always in control of the situation. In this step, she said we want to focus on their desired income. So before, when we talked about mirroring and matching, we want to be able to write down what they are telling us that they want so that at this point in the conversation, we can repeat back to them exactly what they are looking for. And she said this, which was really, really interesting and really made me stop and think about how I want to approach sales calls in the future. She said, either you will sell them on a solution or they will sell you on their limitations. Let me say that again because it was so impactful when I heard this and wrote it down. Either you will sell them on a solution or they will sell you on their limitations. We definitely don't want their limiting beliefs coming into the sales conversation and stopping the sale. We want to be able to reframe that so that we can put it in terms that they have told us of what they're looking for. Part number 4 in this 5-step process is to transition to the yes. At this point in the sales conversation, she said to help to paint the picture, get them to imagine what their future would look like once they have done your course or invested in coaching with you. We also need to create urgency. Is there a time deadline on how long this offer is good for? Do they have bonuses if they purchase by a certain date perhaps? We definitely want to build in urgency so that they don't think that they can just come and invest in your coaching program or your course at any time that they choose. And number 3 was really interesting as well. Through the conversation, as we're taking notes on what they're telling us and what they want, we may start to notice some patterns in their speech and the way that they are believing themselves to be. Some people like a lot of details. They want to know the minutia, the time commitment, and all those things in the process. They're wanting to know all those other things. Other people, on the other hand, don't want to know the details. They kind of start to zone out because for them, they just want the bigger picture. So throughout our sales conversation, we can start again pulling out these patterns to find out what type of person they actually are and how we want to give them information. And step number 5, of course, is closing the sale. Now, I know in my own sales learning process and working with my mentor and coach, Renee Hribar, this is the hardest part of the conversation when it comes to closing and being able to ask the money or have a conversation about money. In this part, she says we need to ask the magic question. The magic question is this: based on everything we've talked about today and everything that's inside this program, do you feel like this is what you are looking for? So again, we want to start stacking those yeses and asking them simple questions to help them move closer to the ultimate yes, and that is to purchase your program or service. And of course, in this step of closing the sale, we absolutely have to have a conversation about money. And she said this is, for lots of us, a sticking point because we need to go in assuming the yes. And we need to leave our own money beliefs at the door. Money beliefs like, oh, my client can't afford this, or my program is so expensive. That's going to set us up for failure, because if we go in holding on to our limiting beliefs, especially around money, that could easily translate into losing the sale. And we want to make sure that when we're talking about pricing, we're not negotiating. If you offer a payment plan, offer that to them. If you offer a one payment, do that as well. We don't want to be creating all sorts of different payment plans for everyone who invests in the program, because first of all, it's way too much work. And second of all, it's not really fair to those people who don't ask that question. So we always want to be in integrity as we're on the sales call, and negotiating the price is also something we do not want to do. And one of the objections that you have likely heard, I know that I have heard in sales conversations, is I can't afford it. Have you ever heard that one? If you have heard that on a sales call, I would love for you to put yes in the comments below. So she talked about saying something to the effect of, I respect you can't spend X right now. What would happen if you did? So that was a great question to turn it around. And then the other great question that she said is, if someone says your course or your coaching is really expensive, you could ask them, compared to what? Because for some people, $100 could be a lot of money, whereas for somebody else, $5,000 or $10,000 is sort of a normal thing that they would spend on a program or service or coaching. So it really depends on their frame of reference. So if there's an issue about pricing, especially that it's too expensive, you always want to ask, compared to what? And then at the very end of the sales call, once you've established that they're a good fit and they're ready to move forward, we want to give them very clear directions here, because we don't want to confuse them at this point after we've gotten this far. We want to give them clear instructions on where to go, how to purchase. Maybe that means you're sending them the link in Messenger to go purchase your product, service. Maybe it's giving you their information over the phone. Whatever your process is, we want to make sure that we are giving very clear directions, because we've spent time getting to know this person. We've spent time figuring out what it is they're looking for and whether they are a good fit for our program. So we definitely don't want to let them go off on their own at this point and hope that they go to the right place. So clear, specific instructions. Okay, so there you have it, the 5-step framework that Jen Casey shared with us at She's Building Her Empire Live last week. You may be wondering why I am coming on here to share something that I learned at a conference that I paid to go to. And well, there are many reasons why I would do this. And as a teacher and an educator for 2 decades now, one of my favorite ways to assess learning is to give my students an instruction. For me, I teach dance, so giving them a piece of choreography or some new skill that we're developing, having them learn it, and then having them teach it to somebody else is so powerful for the student. In this case, I am the student, so being able to come back here and share with all of you what I have learned is really helping me to solidify the information in my brain, get a better handle on it, and really keep this energy and momentum going post-conference. So that's why I wanted to come back and share. I also know that for some people who are watching this video, a live event is just not possible right now. So I want to be able to share this event with you, bring you my golden nuggets, and inspire you to want to go attend some of these live events that may be on your list. Okay, my friends, I would love to know if this 5-step framework has helped you out and if you're ready to incorporate that into your sales conversations. If so, I want you to type absolutely down below. I'll be back again tomorrow on Friday, probably a little later than 1:01, my normal time, because I may be bringing on a guest to share with all of you. A brand new friend that I met online that came to this conference with me, that I met in person for the first time at that conference. We may be able to go live together to talk about tomorrow's subject, and that is the importance of live video in your business. And of course, it is by our mutual mentor, Tiffany Lee Bymaster, also known as Coach Glitter. So I will post tomorrow morning to let you know what time exactly we are going to go live and if she's able to do so. Okay, my friends, I'm off to go pick up my girls. I will catch you right back here tomorrow. Cheers.